Big Blue Nation has packed the house once again as #1 Kentucky puts its unblemished record on the line tonight against Columbia. Welcome to the SEC on ESPN. From a packed house at Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky, it's the #1 team in the country, the Kentucky Wildcats of the SEC, welcoming the Columbia Lions out of the Ivy. John Calipari has established himself as one of the best coaches in all of college basketball. He's only lost 4 times here at Rupp Arena, already a national title at Kentucky, and aiming for another. Welcome, everybody. Tom Hart alongside Sean Farnham. He has accomplished a lot already. But you look at this Kentucky team, his 6th. Is this the best one he's had thus far?
Well, in the early stages, the early reports indicate yes, because of the defense. They're #1 in the country in fewest points given up. They're #1 in the country in field goal percentage defense. That defense has led to a lot of success at the offensive end of the floor. They're so long, they're so athletic. You could say right now, yeah, they would be.
One of the most versatile players in college basketball is Willie Cauley-Stein. He gets the job done on both ends of the floor. He had a career night against Texas.
It was an outstanding game, obviously, against Texas. It kind of changed the way the platoon system worked on Friday night, but really what impressed me most is his ability to defend the on-ball screens. In fact, a coach that played against Kentucky earlier this year said you almost have to stop the ball screen action because he erases it, and he is so good laterally that he can take that aspect of the game out. Meanwhile, Karl Anthony Towns, he changed his haircut. He's not smiling as much anymore. At least he's trying not to smile as much anymore. And the results, well, they were a great game on Sunday. You were here for that one, partner. And he is looking to kind of repeat that performance and start playing more like a junior upperclassman than a freshman that he actually is.
Well, there was a lot of smiling around the Columbia program last year, one of the best seasons in school history. They're led by Maldo Lowe. He averages 16 points a game. That's second best in the Ivy League. And they're looking to make some noise and some headlines in a college basketball season that's already been headlined by upsets. Their head coach is Kyle Smith, a 9-year assistant at St. Mary's College. He's got one of the most impressive turnarounds over the last 4 years in college basketball. 21 wins last year. That's the most since the late 60s. Meanwhile, John Calipari and his platoon system means a lot of guys play a lot of minutes, but a change tonight. Both Tyler Ulis and Devin Booker are in street clothes tonight. They will not play, so Calipari has to decide what does that mean for minutes. Do the Harrison twins play more, or do we see Dominique Hawkins and Derek Willis off the bench with the second team?
Yeah, when you think about Ulis and Booker, both out with minor injuries, they're listed as day-to-day. In fact, I can tell you by being at practice yesterday, they were working out on the side, so it's not something that's going to be significant or keep them out of action, I would anticipate, for very long.
One issue for this Kentucky team, 3-point shooting, and they start with a miss from behind the arc. 270th in the nation. They're shooting less than 30% from deep, and it's something John Calipari has worked on. From 15 feet, Poitras is short. And rebounded by Maldo Lowe. He's a junior from Berlin, Germany. He worked with the German national team in the summer.
Well, Tom, a lot of teams are going to try to slow down tempo against Kentucky. They're going to want to pack it in, zone, and force Kentucky to play at a slower pace. For Columbia, that's not the case. They're going to play at their normal speed. Their normal speed, by the way, one of the slowest in all of college basketball. So they don't have to deviate from what they normally do. They will look to attack. They're going to try to get to the free throw line, as they will right here on their first possession.
Alex Poitras with the foul, his first personal. Columbia, one of the best, well, they have been one of the best free throw shooting teams in college basketball. Kentucky has dominated all opponents. They lead the country in margin of victory. This is Kyle Caslen, freshman from Marietta, Georgia. He's leading the Ivy League at 88% from the line.
A clear example of how good he can be at the line. He had a season and career high 19 points for Seth Greenberg, who's back in studio, his alma mater, Fairleigh Dickinson. He made 13 of 14 at the free throw line. So he can make a living there and hurt you. He's got to be aggressive in attack and earn trips to the free throw line.
And he knocks them both down. This is notable because Kentucky has only trailed for 36 of 360 minutes this season. That is an incredible number, especially when you consider they're taking on the likes of Kansas and Texas. Cauley-Stein turns it over. Columbia, one of the rare times to run, and a dunk for Isaac Cohen.
You have to be opportunistic against Kentucky. Columbia, that time, played the passing lane, got the steal, and the run ahead.
Andrew Harrison finds Aaron Harrison. They both figure to play extended minutes tonight with the injuries. Big size advantage every night for Kentucky, perhaps only negated by Texas. They're the tallest team in college basketball, but Karl Anthony Towns can't knock it down.
And a good job securing the defensive glass. The big point of emphasis for Columbia at shoot-around was, guys, we simply cannot give up second chance looks. Whatever we have to do to secure the ball, we have to do it.
And they can't turn it over either.
Well, they said they'd rather take a 35-second shot clock violation than turn it over and lead to a run out for the Wildcats.
High off the glass and a little bit too strong. Poitras with the rebound. Kentucky trying to push. This is Andrew Harrison all the way, and with the left, he left it short. Brought down by Maldo Lowe. What do we expect to see out of Columbia's offense tonight? One basically predicated on the three ball.
Well, 49% of their shots on the season have come from beyond the arc, so they look to space the floor. At the very most, you'll see one person with actual foot touching the paint. They usually like to space you out, set a lot of screens, and be very methodical in their approach.
There's their first three, and it's knocked down by Chris McComber. Timeout, John Calipari. Columbia is out to a 7-0 lead in the first 2.5 minutes.
Well, you come out flat, you don't provide the energy to answer the bell. Columbia, they're ready to go. They had a very focused practice here last night. Their shoot-around, the guys were loose, feeling confident, fear no one. Come out and play the same level of aggressiveness that they have in the Ivy League that won them 21 games a season ago, and a nice job with a little dribble handoff action. And right now, that effort and that defensive focus isn't quite there for Kentucky. And that's why we're seeing a lot of subs right now.
Columbia's enrollment is less than 8,000. The Lions play in the Ivy League. They're the 5th oldest university in the United States. They've made 3 NCAA appearances, 1948, 1951, and 1968, which was also the year of their lone Ivy title. And the same year, they won a school record 23 games.
As we mentioned, displeased with the level of intensity and the effort at the defensive end of the floor. An early shift to the second group.
That doesn't change much. A steal and a breakaway, and it's 9-0 Columbia. Kentucky's first 4 possessions, Sean 0 for 4 and 2 turnovers. First 5, pardon me. Dominic Hawkins is too strong. And a foul inside will be on this side. And it goes against Chris McComber, his first.
Well, 2 runouts early in this game, both going to Columbia, and Kentucky's been pretty flat-footed so far.
Hawkins with a quick feed back inside. Dakari Johnson doubled, and he lost it out of bounds. Another turnover for Kentucky. Would you just label this uninspired play by Kentucky, or are they surprised with what they're getting from Columbia?
Well, they shouldn't be surprised, because this is exactly what Columbia wants to do and has to do to be successful. And again, this is a team that won over 20 games a season ago.
Picked to finish 3rd in the Ivy League this season. The problem Columbia is going to run into is they're going to run into the best shot blocking team in the country once they do get it inside.
But they're not going to get it inside very often and look to actually score there.
Off the foot of Willis, shot clock at 2. A 3 with a hand in his face, and it didn't draw iron, a shot clock violation.
Well, better defensive possession that time for Kentucky. We'll see if it can carry over to the offensive end of the floor. Remember, in this platoon, there is no Ulis. There is no Booker. They are out tonight. Minor injuries, insert Hawkins and Willis. So chemistry a little bit different within this group.
Kentucky 0 for 5, 3 turnovers. They've got Willis on the floor taking Booker's spot, essentially playing the 2. Lyles fade away 3, and Kentucky has started 0 for 6. This is a team that's shooting 48% from the floor, and John Calipari says, if I can't have Ulis and Booker, then I'll put the Harrison twins back in.
Well, and he talked about this earlier today with us after shoot-around and said that if those 2 can't go, that anticipate that the Harrison twins will play more minutes, and he'll give shorter stints to Hawkins and Willis until they get a little bit more comfortable because of the limited game time they've seen so far this season.
Kentucky trying to turn it up defensively. They can't. What a shot over 2 shot blockers as Kyle Castlin hits.
Well, this crowd is starting to get a little antsy.
No whistle on the drive. Another Columbia takeaway. And Kentucky in the doldrums on both ends of the floor. 5 minutes in, and Columbia leads 11-0. They got another look close, but couldn't finish it off. Taken away by Trey Lyles. Aaron Harrison to the paint. Extra step, got the bucket, and will get a chance to go to the line. It took Kentucky 5 minutes and 5 seconds to score. We'll tell you how Columbia prepared for this victory today here at Rupp Arena when we return. This is Rupp Arena in Lexington, where Kentucky has won 89% of its games all time. 8 national champions have played in this building, and yet Kyle Smith, the head coach of Columbia, practiced something very unique at the end of their shoot-around on this floor today, Sean.
They practiced a victory possession at the free throw line with a lead. Had the team on the bench, 5 guys on the floor. They even mocked shaking hands as they walked down the line, and even a post-game interview. And look, Coach Smith has done a great job with Columbia and building this program up. Their most successful season they had since 1967-68, a season ago. And he says, look, we embrace nerd basketball. That's how we're going to play. That's how we have to play to be successful.
Slice Morrison had a great line when talking to the media yesterday. He told me he stole it from Pete Carrill. He said, yeah, we look at different things for players. We both look at boards. Columbia's looking at SAT scores. We're looking at rebounds.
Well, right now they're looking at a deficit. Their largest deficit that they had all season long before tonight's game was 7. It's currently at 8, and it was as high as 11. We'll see if the energy level picks up at this end of the floor for Kentucky. Kari Johnson doing a nice job up top, being active. Will that carry over?
Columbia's hit on 4 of its first 7 shots, including 1 of 2 from deep. They don't mind the shot clock being in single digits. Sean, as you mentioned, they have one of the longest lengths of possession in college basketball. John Calipari well aware he wants to push the tempo for his team overall, not just tonight against Columbia, but 59, 60 shots a game is not enough for this Kentucky team.
Well, and how do you create tempo? How do you create opportunities against an opponent that you know is going to want to slow it down? You've got to play the passing lanes. You've got to trap and create turnover opportunities.
Isaac Cohen drives and kicks. Shot clock is at 1. A little floater, back rim, too strong. Columbia scored the first 11 points in this game. Andrew Harrison cut off. Great defense by the Lions tonight. Aaron Harrison, no. And it's kept alive inside by Marcus Lee.
We'll see if they can make them pay. Second offensive rebound of the game for Kentucky.
Lee got tied up and lost it. And Isaac Cohen, the junior from Orlando, started to push it and pulled it back. 4th turnover for Kentucky already. Noah Springwater drains his first shot off the bench.
They're believing in themselves, playing their style of basketball. They are giving up potential drives to the hoop and kicking for the wide open, uncontested 3-point shot on the outside.
Kentucky just 1 for 9 from the floor to start this game with 4 turnovers. Harrison got the whistle. And this will be Andrew Harrison going to the free throw line. It's a first on Springwater. Columbia ranks 4th in the country in points allowed per game at just 50, and they've held opponents to 24% shooting from behind the arc. Kentucky has really struggled with its threes all season. And you were at Kentucky's practice yesterday. John Calipari put a special effort in to getting looks and knocking them down from deep.
When they started practice yesterday afternoon, they scrimmaged but could only shoot 3-point shots. So they worked on really floor spacing, throwing it ahead in transition, and having confidence to knock down the perimeter 3.
Andrew Harrison knocks down both free throws. You're going to put Willie Cauley-Stein on the ball and a little bit of pressure. That's how versatile the 7-footer Cauley-Stein is. He can run 94 feet with the best of them. And he's guarding the 6'4" Cohen. Look at this.
He is one of the best on-ball defenders, especially for his size. There's nobody better in the country as far as his size and ability to defend on the outside.
Skip pass results in a baseline drive, and a follow tip fell off. Another offensive rebound for Columbia and Corey Osakowski, and a kick out and a fresh 35.
The hands down a little bit at the defense. They're below the hips, and that's one thing that Coach Calipari always talks about with his team. You got to have your hands above the level of your hips. And because of it, Columbia's been able to pass the ball pretty freely in their half court.
Maudo Low between the legs for three. And it's ripped down by Karl Anthony Towns, a freshman from Piscataway, New Jersey. Here's a lob, and the first dunk of the night belongs to Aaron Harrison.
Now, they had 10 lob dunks on Sunday when you were here, and that is the first of the evening that we've seen so far for Kentucky. And that gets the energy level going. Sometimes you don't want your offense to have to ignite your defense, but finally the first time that Kentucky's been able to get out in transition and convert.
Kentucky shooting 57% on the season. And there's another three. But Sean, you take out the dunks, it's only 43%. So Steve Frankowski hits his first from behind the arc. Towns kicks it back out.
Columbia doing an excellent job right now surrounding and swarming.
Baseline turnaround, pretty shot from Karl Anthony Towns.
He shot that one with confidence, spinning towards the baseline away from the double team. On the first touch, he went into the double team. That time he knew where the double team was coming from and spun around the opposite direction.
Towns has been in double figures now in 4 straight games. Two-time SEC Rookie of the Week. Kentucky knew exactly what Columbia would try to do offensively tonight. And the perimeter shots have been falling, and they found some room in the paint somehow. Taken away by Kentucky. This is Towns leading the break to Lyons. Willie Cauley-Stein somehow nearly converted that bad pass. 3 ball, no good. And the ball will stay with Kentucky. 35 seconds of fresh shot clock. But John Calipari not happy tonight, nor should he be. Columbia scored.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Coach, and a good evening for Columbia to start this one. Leading #1 ranked Kentucky 17-9. The undefeated Wildcats, unanimous #1 in the AP. And this is just following a trend we've already seen this season, Sean.
College of the Sciences knocking off Drexel, Yale. A fellow Ivy League team going into the defending national champions home and knocking them off with a 3-pointer in the corner. And then NJIT knocking off Michigan. Michigan with another upset loss last night against Eastern Michigan. A lot of upsets across the landscape of college basketball in this early season. Kyle Smith trying to lead Columbia to what would be obviously one of those notable upsets if this one was to maintain and stay at this pace. Right now, though, I'll tell you, looking at the numbers, 7-0 points off of turnovers for Columbia. And that has got to be a statistic that is clearly on the side of Kentucky, as well as points in the paint, which isn't there. Columbia is beating them in that category as well.
Towns lost it on the way up, and that will stay with Kentucky, much to Kyle Smith's disdain.
Now, this building is quiet. Kentucky's a little flat right now still. Haven't seen the energy that you'd expect to see out of Kentucky. They got a 3-game stretch coming up. North Carolina, UCLA, and Louisville before they start conference play.
Columbia has never beaten a #1 ranked team in the country. They've never beaten a top 10 team. Shot clock now at 5. Cauley-Stein all over the glass but couldn't squeeze it. The highest ranked team they've ever beaten on the court was 15th ranked Navy in January of 1953. And the last time they played, the only time they played a #1 team was at undefeated Indiana team from 75-76. They lost to them 106-63 the day after Christmas in 1975. Great ball movement from Columbia all night.
Yeah, the freedom in which they're moving the ball around. They're very comfortable with this pace.
Shot clock of 5. Ball lost will stay with Columbia after the officials confer. 4 seconds on the shot clock.
And this is where it can be problematic at times for Columbia. They've got a limited opportunity to score now. They've got to get something fast, and that's not necessarily in their makeup. The good news is where the ball's being taken out of bounds right now is underneath, so they should be able to try to execute on one of these out-of-bounds plays.
Luke Petrusek checks in. He's been out with an injury basically all season, so go a little bit bigger now. Shot clock at 1, and it's rejected by Karl Anthony Towns. It's a shot clock violation and a rejection.
So difficult to drive. Karl Anthony Towns says, no way. Not getting to the rim this time. Shot clock violation, Kentucky's opportunity. But they have Kentucky playing at a walk-it-up-the-court pace. And as you've mentioned, that is not something that Coach Calipari wants to see for this team. He wants them playing fast. He wants them getting out in transition, getting quick looks, playing at an upbeat tempo.
For a lot of different reasons, not the least of which they've struggled to knock down shots, especially from deep. But remember, they're also trying to share offensive production with 10 regulars and 9 McDonald's All-Americans. That'll help. A high percentage stop from Willie Cauley-Stein.
I love the interior passing between these two. Karl-Anthony Towns and Willie Cauley-Stein. You see Willie Cauley-Stein shape up, have his hands ready. Unselfishness from Karl-Anthony Towns and the easy finish.
First personal, Luke Petrusek. Cauley-Stein had a career-high 21 against Texas. He also had 5 steals and 3 blocks in that game. They smothered the Longhorns.
You see, this is an area where Kentucky can generate energy. Speed them up, get them out of their comfort zone. You press them, you force Columbia to have to react and play quicker. In order to get in that press, though, often, obviously, you got to make shots. And Kentucky hasn't made a lot of those early.
It's 4 for 15 to start this game for Kentucky. A drive and a clean shot at the rim contested by Poitras. Dominic Hawkins running the point. Poitras running the floor, and he jams it home. Timeout taken by Columbia. Kentucky has climbed to within 3, and that's notable here at Rupp Arena.
Kentucky trailing by 3, but the #1 team in the nation in the last 2 possessions starting to attack and get to the area that they want to be at on the floor, and that is in the paint and in the rim. This one in transition, Alex Poitras. Simplify the action, play good defense, rebound the basketball, and take your opportunities when you have it at the offensive end. And it was one of the few runouts we've seen for the Wildcats.
Kentucky had 14 dunks in their 82-49 win against Eastern Kentucky on Sunday night here. But this is a Wildcats team which is not only undefeated, but they've only trailed for 36 minutes coming into this game, and they've been behind every moment of this one.
Look at the floor spacing. Nobody in the paint for Columbia. They like to space you out. They have no problem operating their offense behind the NBA three-point line.
Quick look inside and a skip to the corner. Great ball movement. A 3 is good. That's all the way from Maudo Lowe.
That is unbelievable unselfishness by Columbia. Their floor spacing and how they're able to get the high-quality look.
And it snaps a 7-0 Kentucky run, and then a foul on the rebound.
Oh, great ball movement for Columbia. We've seen it all night long. Get the ball inside, the defense collapse, space it out, create long runouts, and hit the open 3. Columbia's up by 6.
At Rupp Arena, where Columbia leads Kentucky 20-14. Year 6 of the John Calipari era, an era that always seems to be reloading. 2009, 2010, this is year #1, led by John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, and Eric Bledsoe. They're SEC champs, they're SEC tournament champs, and that may have been the highlight late in the year, rallying from 5 down with 2.5 to go in regulation to beat Mississippi State after the Marcus Cousins layup after a John Wall missed 3. Wall took over in overtime as Kentucky won its 26th SEC tournament championship, an automatic berth to the NCAA. They would lose in the Elite 8 to West Virginia. Wall and Cousins combined for 32.
And one of the big stats for this year's team has been their ability to force turnovers. Kentucky forcing almost 18 turnovers per contest so far in this game. Columbia just 1 turnover.
Columbia came in averaging 11.5 turnovers per game. They're coming off of a 62-39 win over Bucknell. Maudo Lowe kicks it. 1 on the shot clock, and he did not get it off. I believe that's the 3rd shot clock violation tonight on Columbia. 3 top 15 teams highlight a doubleheader Saturday on ESPN. First, the 13th ranked Utes battle Perry Ellis and the number 10 Jayhawks. Then the Wolverines face a tough test against Rondé Hollis Jefferson and the 3rd ranked Wildcats. The Holiday Hoops Double Dip begins Saturday at 3:15 on ESPN, the home court of college hoops.
A pair of great games in Utah, of course, ended Wichita State's undefeated streak of games in the regular season. It was Kentucky who ended their streak a season ago in the NCAA tournament.
Larry Kristoviak's crew, the Utes, have a tough one tonight in Provo against their rivals at BYU. That's always a high-energy game. Chris McComa with his second. DeLon Wright gives Utah 15 points, 5 boards, and 5 assists a game. He's a preseason Wooden Award candidate.
And was first team all-defensive team in the Pac-12 a season ago, as well as first team overall in the Pac-12. A tremendous talent, brother Darrell Wright.
Dakari Johnson got fouled from behind. Kyle Smith told his team that when they get it inside, I want you to fight and fight some more. And that's worked to an extent, but it's also going to pile up some fouls on Columbia as they have to get physical with the bigger Kentucky team.
Well, the man that's at the line right now, Dakari Johnson, he has made a living at the free throw line. He has more free throw attempts and field goal attempts on the year, and he is so strong and has done such a great job transforming his body from where it was a season ago, really trimming down his body fat. He's become more active. He still needs to be a little bit more active. That was one of the things he talked about at practice yesterday, being self-critical. And when Coach Cal asked Dakari, what do you need to do? He goes, I need to keep my motor running. I need to play with better energy.
Another offensive rebound for Kentucky. Trey Lyles that time.
Another offensive rebound. That's 5. You know how many points they have off their offensive rebound so far in this one? 0.
Harrison trying to change that. Kicks to Lyles. The last 2 games for Kentucky, they've been 0 from deep until 3 minutes left in the game. They nearly saw their long streak end last time out against Eastern Kentucky. Finally hit one with 2:55 to go. Their streak stands at 909 games with a 3. Second longest in the country behind UNLV. Aaron Harrison to the paint. Dakari Johnson muscles up.
He's so good on the offensive glass. He makes a living there. Gets his hands on the ball, doesn't bring it down below the level of his chin, keeps it up high, and finishes over the top.
Springwater does nothing but shoot threes as he gives it up and will run through again. Haslin gets cut off. A spacing messed up now for Columbia. Near steal for Kentucky. And another near steal. This is Aaron Harrison out front. Great strip by Cohen. It will stay with Kentucky.
And with the energy level, you're starting to see the passing lanes start to shrink a little bit for Columbia. The length of Kentucky playing the passing lanes, being a little bit more aggressive here, giving themselves an opportunity to gain this possession. A nice job in recovery and ball hawking by Columbia. Now, that's one of the things we've talked about. Columbia has got great floor spacing, and in the first half, a lot of times when the ball's been driven into the paint, if you stay with your man and keep your hands active, you can get steal opportunities that would create runouts for Kentucky. We haven't seen that thus far.
How about the man defense by Columbia? Kentucky, you see their defensive numbers. They've been impressive all season long, but Columbia has locked up when Kentucky has tried to drive.
Primarily in the first half, they played a lot of zone, but you're right, partner, they're in the man-to-man now, and this is a trouble area, and there's the three-point streak. It'll continue.
910 consecutive games now, second longest streak in the country.
The fans won't have to wait to the final 2+ minutes tonight. But they are still waiting for the first lead of the game for the Kentucky Wildcats.
Roy Osikowski working in the paint. Trying to step through, and he gets it to roll in. His first bucket. Columbia by 3 now. Poitras with the jam. 2 buckets for Alex Poitras, both of them rim rockers. Don Calipari wants to see that motor for Poitras. He's used Willie Cauley-Stein as a great example. Nearly lost on the drive. Isaac Cohen kicks it back. Their centers can shoot threes. Everybody on the floor can shoot for Columbia, but it's turned over. Jeff Kobe lost it. How about Alex Poitras tonight?
Well, the drive down the lane, the defense all gets sucked in. A beautiful dish back.
And for Rob Murphy's squad last night across town in Ann Arbor to knock off Michigan. And here, Columbia has shown up from New York City, and they have a 1-point lead. They have led the entire game here at Rupp Arena with 3:39 to go before the break.
But in the last couple of minutes, we started to see Kentucky assert itself a little bit more. An opportunity here to get the lead, and if they get the lead, they get the crowd more involved. We'll see how that affects Columbia in the final 3:30.
Dakari Johnson kicks it to Harrison. His three struggles continue, and the loose ball rebound is corralled by Osakowski. Kentucky thought this week they would get a good game from a team in light blue, but they probably figured it would be North Carolina coming in on Saturday. Columbia is 5-2 on the season, picked to finish third in the Ivy League. And they have yet to trail here tonight against the winningest program in the history of college basketball. Tapped and kept alive. Fresh shot clock.
And then they'll work it again. They're going to force you to defend. You have to be disciplined and focus, in a foul away from the basket on the ball. Dakari Johnson.
That's the first on Dakari Johnson. Gotta guard him deep because they can shoot it from deep. Friday at SportsCenter, we take a closer look at the greatest high school football game of all time. Good Gosh Almighty, the comeback. A new SportsCenter featured, premiering Friday at 6 p.m. on SportsCenter.
So disciplined, Columbia, in their half-court sets. They force you to defend the ball, and they force you to defend late in the shot clock. You've got to be disciplined and be willing to defend for 35 seconds.
Isaac Cohen trying to look past Karl-Anthony Towns. Shot clock at 5, and a hold inside will be on Aaron Harrison. It's the first on Harrison. Fourth on Kentucky.
Well, and Aaron Harrison didn't have his head where he could see the ball and his man. Otherwise, that is going to be an easy steal. And it was not a great pass down low on the block.
That's exactly what Kentucky worked on today at their practice. Oh, this will look like contact on the 3. Picked up and thrown up again. And Willie Cauley-Stein finally corrals it. Kyle Smith can't understand why Steve Frankowski isn't shooting 3 free throws. Cauley-Stein from 14. They're struggling to convert those second chance points, Sean. It's been like that all night.
Columbia is scrapping down low in the paint. I mean, that last time down the floor, Karl-Anthony Towns, he was getting grabbed and held in all sorts of ways, trying to get to the offensive rebound there. No call underneath to the Wildcats on that possession, but Columbia is going to continue to scratch and do all they can to secure the glass, because athletically and obviously lengthwise, they can't match up. Effort and heart-wise, Columbia's matched up just fine so far here in the first half.
I haven't been able to find either one of those stats on Ken Palm's site, though. This is a 3 from Kobe.
He has stats for everything else.
Kentucky trying to run it out. No numbers. 3-on-3 doesn't matter to Harrison. He draws the foul. Andrew Harrison will go to the free throw line. Second personal on Isaac Cohen. That's the 7th on Columbia. 2-shot foul for Andrew Harrison. Andrew Harrison. The first time John Calipari has returned a starting point guard in his time here in Lexington. Luke Petrasik returns for Columbia. And another free throw for Harrison, who came in shooting 77% from the line. He's 0 for 5 from the floor tonight. Columbia has led for 19 minutes. Kentucky, with the injuries, has mixed up its platoons a little bit, and with ineffectiveness as well, as Hawkins runs with the first team, and it's another 3 for Columbia.
They have just executed brilliantly here in the first half. They have dictated the flow and the tempo of the game. They have been tight on the glass.
And And a follow tip is in for Trey Lyles. Columbia's hit 42% from deep on 5 of 12 shooting. Once again, it's a one-possession game in Columbia with the shot clock off will hold it. Frankowski guarded at midcourt by Harrison. 10 on the clock. Lowe guarded by Hawkins. Now 5. Lowe behind the big screen. Now 1.8. We get a whistle and a foul. Dominique Hawkins commits his first personal. John Calipari lost his voice earlier this week. He was a little bit ill. That voice was back for a moment. Maybe less than 24 hours. He has been at full throat after his team this entire first half. 1.8 on the clock. Cohen looking to pull the trigger. It's tipped away, and we got to get something to go off the clock. Kentucky has only trailed at the half one time this season. They're going to take 0.3 of a second off. So 1.5 on the inbounds for Columbia. Tipped, shot off, too strong. But what a first half for Columbia. Joining Buffalo as the only two teams to lead Kentucky at the half. The Columbia Lions hit 5 of 13 from deep, 38%. And they hold Kentucky to just 1 of 7 from 3 as the Wildcats get a taste of their own medicine, suffocating defense to trail by 2 at the break. Sean Farnham is standing by with Columbia head coach Kyle Smith.
Coach, how pleased are you with the attention to detail, in particular on the glass? You're hanging with Kentucky, and then the way you've been able to control the tempo here in the first half.
I'm tickled. We played great. We did a good job. But as it wore on, though, the attrition, they got in the glass a little bit in transition, so we'll have to do a better job second half.
Coach, you told me before the game that if you were able to pull off the upset, you would retire after the game. If you're able to hold on for the next 20 minutes, are you gonna stay true with that?
Yeah, only if you intern me. Oh, you take me as an intern.
All right, I'll take you as an intern. Coach, congratulations. Best of luck in the second half.
I don't know if retirement's in his future right now, but his key win could be. Our halftime score, Columbia 25, Kentucky 23. Let's take you to the studio for the Land Rover halftime report. Jonathan Coachman and Andy Katz. Rupp Arena, where Columbia leads #1 Kentucky 25-23. Tom Hart alongside Sean Farnham. Columbia hasn't beaten a top 25 team since 1976. Sean, not only did they lead Kentucky, but they've never trailed. How has this happened?
Well, they've done an outstanding job with floor spacing and ball movement. They controlled the tempo of the game. So as we go inside the play, let's show you exactly how the ball movement has created problems for Kentucky. As the ball is entered into the post, Alex Poitras is going to pinch in. You've got 2 already around the post, leaves a wide open shooter on the outside. Skip it out. Forces a long run out for Alex Poitras, and now even a longer run out for Karl Anthony Towns. You turn down a good shot, you find the great shot. Columbia did a nice job in the first half executing their 3-point shot. They had 5 made threes in the first half. For Kentucky, it's about the first 5 minutes coming out of the break. Are they going to play with the effort necessary? Are they going to attack and get the ball down low and get in the rim? Because when they did, they had success in the first half. The first 5 minutes will tell you an awful lot about how the second half is going to go.
Here's a look at the numbers at the break. Columbia only -2 on the glass. Kentucky +6 in the paint. Experience may have something to do with this as well. Columbia went into East Lansing last year against #2 Michigan State. They held Tom Izzo's team to 63 points, but they lost by 11. Talking to Maldo Lowe before the game today, he said, we've been to Michigan State. Can't imagine this would be much different, although it does seem a little bit bigger. Towns running the floor. Calipari said he wants to push it. They did not have that chance in the first half. Held to 23, the fewest points in a half this season. Willie Cauley-Stein back out. Jumper's good for Trey Lyles.
Trey Lyles has been playing free and fluid. And you see kind of an adjustment. Alex Poitras doesn't get to start here in the second half. Trey Lyles does. He's able to execute and score on their opening possession.
So we're tied for the first time. A drive and a kick and a 3. That's cemented to Columbia's madness. They can't find the long rebound. Kentucky looking for its first lead of the night. Andrew Harrison. The lob fell out, and it will stay with Kentucky.
Now remember, they trailed at the half against Buffalo, and they came out and scored the first 5 points of the second half and really kind of got the crowd finally behind them, and the energy in the building started to change. And thus far, they've not had a lead in this game. An opportunity once again to get one here. We'll see how Columbia would react if that happens.
Aaron Harrison for 2. Only 17% of Kentucky's points come on jumpers, so it's a rarity that they would look to long jump shots to try and get their offense going. Now to Lowe, finger roll is good.
Well, where's the rotation defensively? The length, the athleticism, the ability to block shots down low, and it was nowhere to be found on that drive.
They work it inside. That seems too simple. Karl Anthony Towns.
So simple that you want to see it happen time and time again if you're a Kentucky Wildcat fan right now. Play through the block. Allow them to utilize their strength and their size underneath to score.
It's kind of who Kentucky is right now, isn't it? A post-up team.
They're not a three-point shooting team, at least not the last couple of games.
Now to Lowe, a deep three. Got another one! 13 points for the junior from Berlin, Germany.
It shouldn't be a surprise when you think about the fact that he's left for the last 3 games has averaged better than 20 points per game for Columbia.
Another jump shot. That one falls for Aaron Harrison. Nobody was waiting on the back end for Kentucky as McComber walks it across midcourt.
And usually you throw ahead, you've got open space like that, you're looking to attack. Columbia, now they're looking to just secure the possession, pull it back out, and make you work.
Now to Lowe at 6'3", guarded by the 7-footer Stein. Follow tip, crashing the board is Castleton at 6'4".
Subs coming off the bench. Coach Calipari, once again, not pleased with the effort, giving up second chance points, giving up drives down the middle of the lane.
Nice drive by Andrew Harrison, his first field goal of the night.
You can feel this building. It's waiting to get up. It's waiting to make some noise. Just haven't had that run that we've typically seen. The Columbia bench was waiting for a three-point shot there. They were anticipating a pull off the screen.
Low reverse, it got blocked. Another offensive rebound and bucket by Castleton. He's only 6'4", just a freshman who averages 4 boards a game. And he has 2 in each of the last 2 offensive possessions for Columbia. And a scrap inside for position will result on a foul on Osadkowski, his second.
Amado Lowe, we talked about his efficiency, 54% from the field over the last 3 games. Drives right down the lane. Nobody rotates over. Nobody cuts off the angle and then comes off the screen, gets his feet set, able to knock down the 3-point shot.
John Calipari with a teaching moment for Andrew Harrison now on the Kentucky bench.
Well, it's the effort of the defensive end of the floor that's always going to draw the attention of Coach Calipari.
Long jumper. And a foul will stay on the Kentuckian. Petrusek commits his second. It's a 3-point lead for Columbia. 4 minutes into the second half. I suppose he's always animated, but John Calipari talking to his team during the timeout, trailing Columbia by 3 as we recap the Calipari era. Year 2, 2010-11, a 29-win campaign. Brandon Knight had game winners in the NCAA tournament against both Princeton and then Aaron Craft in Ohio State. They would beat Roy Williams in North Carolina in the Elite 8, cut down the nets in Newark to go to the Final Four as John Calipari became one of 2 coaches to take 3 different teams to the Final Four. They lost to UConn in the Final Four and ended up with 29 wins on the season.
Well, important to note, too, in case you joined us late, Tyler Ulis and Devin Booker both out tonight with minor injuries listed as day-to-day. They did some workouts even yesterday at practice when we were there. And without these 2, how that changes the platoon system. In fact, you look at it, only 6 points off the bench tonight. So the starters the first platoon has all but 6 of the points that Kentucky has scored, and we've seen better balance throughout the course of the year. Obviously, when Ulis and Booker were out on the floor.
And remember, John Calipari uses his bench for 47% of the minutes every night. That is second most in the country. Obviously, because of the platoon system that's been thrown in disarray tonight. Harrison forced it up. Great defense. Kentucky able to save it.
Well, number of opportunities prior to that break. They had 11 offensive rebounds. Now at 13. Only 4 points. 4 second chance points off of 13 offensive rebounds. You should average about a point per offensive rebound.
That'll help.
That'll get you 2.
And now some pressure from Kentucky as Harrison picks up low, full court. Kentucky has never led. Castleton's been fantastic in the second half. In among the trees, he gets rejected.
I play through Karl Anthony Towns right now for Kentucky every single possession. And get him the ball underneath. He has been your best offensive player. He has been your strongest with his back to the basket. Looking to try to get to the rim.
This is a Kentucky team, which is the tallest in college basketball, second tallest in the continental United States. They would be the second tallest in the NBA. These guys, a lot of them will be there soon. Columbia's guys will go pro in something other than basketball, most likely. Mount Low fires. That was off the mark from the get-go, and an over-the-back foul on Petrusek will be his third. It's a 1-point lead for Columbia. A tough out-of-conference battle highlights this Saturday's journey to the tourney matchup when the Wolverines try to end a 2-game losing streak against Rondae Hollis Jefferson and the Wildcats. The journey to the tourney presented by Sonic, a spotlight on games that will impact the tournament. Saturday at 5:15 on ESPN, the home court of college hoops.
If it's anything like last Saturday's game at the McHale Center, you know it's going to be a good one. That game against Gonzaga, back and forth affair down the stretch. The Wildcats very good defensively.
Well, Michigan's got to get out of their funk to begin with. Derek Willis for 3. John Calipari is anxious to see how he played tonight. Poitras with the save. And a foul will send Willie Cauley-Stein to the line. Another offensive rebound. They've been tied once tonight. Isaac Cohen commits his third personal foul. Willie Cauley-Stein only has 3 points and 6 boards. The same guy against Texas who had 21 with 5 steals and 3 blocks.
And part of that has been the great defensive transition of Columbia. Getting back, forcing, and getting back and then converging in the paint. Forcing Kentucky into contested 2s. They've really limited the amount of touches that Willie Cauley-Stein has had in this game.
He hits the second or 2. Tied again.
His numbers have improved across the board from a year ago. His percentages, his rebounding, his points per game production. They need him to get going here in the final 14.
Kentucky trying to play some inspired defense here with the building behind them. Out low, kicks. Springwater doesn't shoot 2s. He hasn't shot one all season, only 3s. Kobe cut off, back to Low. Shot clock now at 5. Looking for a screen. Low splits the defenders and rejected by Willie Cauley-Stein.
If you bring the ball into the Lions' den, be aware. Willie Cauley-Stein's going to erase it. One of the elite shot blockers in all of college basketball slides over like a cat prowling on its prey.
Kentucky looking for its first lead of the night. Deep 3. Willis will go to the line.
Well, 23,500 in attendance tonight, waiting for Kentucky to have an opportunity to create that play, that moment that gives them that energy and that spark.
And you could feel it in the building, and you could feel the home fans waiting for it. And given Kentucky's size, was that the right shot for that possession? as Willis gives Kentucky its first lead.
It's playing with freedom, and that's what they worked on yesterday at practice. Remember, Cal was talking to us about when they were scrimmaging, getting shots up in transition, looking to shoot that three-point shot. Play with freedom. It led to a second chance point opportunity, and it's giving Kentucky a 2-point lead.
And its first lead of the night. Andrew Harrison returns. He missed his first 6 shots tonight. Most of John Calipari's frustration has come on the defensive end. And now they're harassing Columbia. 7-footer guarding a 6'3" guard in Willie Cauley-Stein. And a reach in on Poitras. Second, Kentucky's first this half.
And the question that Coach Cal had for Alex Poitras right there was why? No need to foul in that moment. You've got to be able to move your feet laterally. They work on lunging every single day at practice with your feet, keeping your man in front of you and keeping your hands off.
Aldo Lowe has hit 3 threes tonight. They've been forced to start their offense much further out the last few possessions. Kentucky extending its D. Osudkowski working on Johnson. Help came.
A little different when there's a 7-footer standing in front of you.
Osudkowski has to hurry, double dribble. And a Columbia turnover.
And why are these fans on their feet right now here at Rupp? Why are they applauding? Why are they providing the energy? Because the appreciation for the effort at the defensive end of the floor.
Kentucky team which leads the nation in several defensive categories. But John Calipari doesn't want his team playing games in the 50s. Lob and defended well, but the loose ball is left short, and another foul on Columbia will be the team's 7th. Jeff Kobe picks up his first, and Kentucky will be shooting free throws the rest of the way. We're talking to Calipari today about the makeup of his team offensively, and not necessarily with regard to this game or even North Carolina coming in this weekend. He said once we get through with Carolina, we'll have a chance to kind of get back into workshop and work on things. This Kentucky team will look much different after they get a chance to practice some. They've been playing games nonstop.
Well, and that's the 3-game stretch that's coming up, and you can see the space 7 days in between each one of those games. Ample opportunity, A, to get healthy, B, to fine-tune some of the areas.
How do you think they'll look different?
I think you're going to see them try to create more tempo and more opportunities. And I think that starts by, first of all, making shots and then getting up in the press.
Largest lead of the game for Kentucky. Frankowski picked up his dribble. Kobe hassled by Willis. This is Maudo Lowe now. He's been their team leader. Using Osudkowski. Got it. That one just snuck over the front of the rim.
A big shot in a big moment. You're down by 4, and the momentum starting to shift to Kentucky. Columbia needed to find an answer, and they found one.
Willis hit a 3 the other night, and a foul on the rebound again will go against Columbia.
Columbia relinquishes the lead, but Maudo Lowe says we're not going away just yet. We're playing with confidence and some swagger. In Rupp, the bench likes it. They trail by 1.
Button Coach here, the studio update. Number 10, Kansas, Georgetown. Good one in the nation's capital. LJ Peak blocking. Free throw, no good. KU up 2, about 5 minutes into the second half. Guys?
All right, Coach, thanks. Here, Columbia putting a scare into Kentucky. It's a 1-point lead for the Cats now, but we should mention Columbia is doing this without one of their key players. Alex Rosenberg was an All-Ivy performer last year. He led them in scoring, but after he broke his foot in October, he decided to withdraw from classes because in the Ivy League, you can only compete for 4 years, 4 seasons of eligibility in your first 4 years of enrollment, and you're not allowed to compete as a graduate student. So Rosenberg made the decision, I'll just withdraw from school. It won't count as a year against me. And since I was going to miss 2 months anyway, I'll return next year, but he can't be around the team. He can't attend practices. The only games he attends the home games thanks in large part to the fact that his family still has season tickets.
Well, and you think about last year, they were 21-13. Kyle Smith doing an outstanding job with this program. And with Rosenberg, if he was back, and I think, preseason predicted to be third, they had a legitimate chance to win the Ivy League this year. And the Ivy League is more than just Harvard. And we saw Yale knock off the defending champions of UConn. Obviously, they fell to Florida.
Steal by Kentucky. Harrison with the jam.
Those opportunities have been few and far between. But Harrison, an excellent job picking up the intensity at the defensive end of the floor, manufacturing an easy bucket.
Castlin back on the floor for Columbia.
We talk about the strength, though, of the Ivy League. Don't forget about Penn. 3 different freshmen off of Penn have been named Freshman of the Week in the Ivy League already in the first month.
Catlin. Offensive foul. Kyle Smith is beside himself on the sideline.
Well, let's go back to that previous possession, though. Watch Aaron Harrison. He cuts off the passing lane and finishes at the rim. And that's energy that hopefully bleeds over to the defensive end of the floor for the Kentucky Wildcats if you're a fan of Kentucky. And, 12 points, 5 of 12 shooting for Aaron tonight. The minutes have been spread around a little bit more, given the fact that, again, Ulis and Booker not in uniform tonight for the Wildcats.
Aaron has 1 3 tonight. He only had 2 in the previous 3 games.
Great job defensively by Columbia, swarming Willie Cauley-Stein on the block, not giving him an angle.
Andrew Harrison with an air ball. Lee is there.
Well, sometimes when you play in the zone, you give up lanes, and that time nobody put a body on Marcus Lee.
11 second chance points for Kentucky. That number could be much larger. Now to Lowe off one leg. And Lyles has it. 5-point lead for Kentucky. Harrison with the lob and the finish.
And a timeout for Columbia. Back-to-back possessions where Kentucky's been able to finish in the paint. The lobometer would come out. It would be the second lob of the night. And the Wildcats provided some energy.
Calipari's championship year, year number 3, 38 wins. Anthony Davis was the most outstanding player of the Final Four. He and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist went number 1 and 2 in the NBA draft. They beat Louisville and Kentucky in the Final Four on their way to a national championship. By the way, the Ivy League has had 6 first-round picks in their history, in the history of the ancient eight. John Calipari had 5 first-round picks in 2010. Osukowski has had a hard time against Willie Cauley-Stein all night. Jump hook is a beautiful one. His second field goal.
You see the space they create, though, by keeping everybody out on the perimeter. It was one-on-one isolation down low on the block.
Good move, and Kentucky just overpowering Columbia now as Trey Lyles hits it.
And Coach Cal said yesterday at practice, he's playing free of mind and not afraid of making mistakes. And he was clear in mind on that possession. Getting the ball, he knew exactly what he was going to do with it. A nice move by Trey Lyles. Marcus Lee got hung up there. And I think he had an opportunity to get a clean shot.
Turned over. Out front to Andrew Harrison. Wow, follow jam by Stein. Willie Cauley-Stein has 8 points and 7 boards.
Remember just minutes ago we were talking about how his numbers were down a little bit tonight and how quickly that can change with him.
Kentucky pressuring Columbia into mistakes now.
You don't need to panic if you're Columbia, but you do need to get better quality looks than they have in the last 4 or 5 possessions. Everything's a little bit out of control. People are off balance. Slow down.
Be methodical, but get the look you want.
Shot clock winding down, and an offensive foul is the second on Kyle Castleman on a drive. Willie Cauley-Stein in Kentucky pulling away, leading 48-39. Number 1, Kentucky with a 9-point lead on Columbia. Kentucky's second top 10 test of the season came against 6th-ranked Texas, and Willie Cauley-Stein dominated this game late. He scored a career-high 21 points. Defensively, he was an impact player from the get-go. 5 steals, 3 blocks. He also had 12 boards. 9 of 12 shooting for Cauley-Stein against Texas, and he played 33 minutes in that game, which was the first time the platoon system was kind of pushed into disarray.
Well, and pushed there tonight due to injuries, but to me, Willie Cauley-Stein has established himself as the key turner. To get the engine going, to get the motor rolling for the Wildcats, Willie Cauley-Stein has got to be the guy. And he has done it in this very brief stretch right now where he has started to assert himself, came up with the big block at the defensive end of the floor, and a couple of times up in the rim already.
Well, Kentucky has turned it on both sides of the floor. Cats have hit 4 of their last 5 field goals.
And those field goals coming at the rim.
Aaron Harrison with the jumper.
Harrison now with 14. Kentucky hasn't turned the ball over. Only 4 turnovers on the game for Kentucky, so it's not about turning it over being sloppy. It's about patience at this end of the floor, and they've been much better with their on-ball pressure defense here in the second half, disrupting Columbia's flow.
0 turnovers in the second half for Kentucky. All 4 of those came in the first half. Cohen kicks it back out. McCulmer just a bit short, and Trey Lyles tracks it down. Back to Lyles. Aaron Harrison. And McCulmer's on the glass. The game has completely swung. Columbia scored the first 11 points of this game, and now Kentucky leads by 11. Osukowski. We got a goaltending, and they'll count it. And a bucket for the senior center on the drive. He's got a half dozen. 3 top 15 teams highlight a doubleheader Saturday on ESPN. First, the 13th-ranked Utes battle Perry Ellis and number 10 Kansas. Then the Wolverines face a tough test against Rondé Hollis Jefferson and the 3rd-ranked Wildcats. The Holiday Hoops double dip against Saturday at 3:15 on ESPN, the home court of college hoops.
This is what good possession of trying to get it down to Karl Anthony Towns, but then he didn't reestablish post position, and kind of a forced look from the outside by Andrew Harrison.
The offensive freedom that you talked about for Kentucky. Osukowski working on Towns. Here comes a double. Slow kick to the corner. Means Columbia couldn't get a shot out of it, so McCulmer will tee it up. Osukowski on the glass, and he has to fight through a reach-in on Andrew Harrison. The first on Harrison.
The thing about Columbia, too, in the first possession of the game, they got to the free throw line. They have not been back since. Only 2 free throws attempted this evening by Columbia.
And that's a second team foul on Kentucky.
You know, a lot of you at home may be, well, there's a big disparity there. Why? Well, because the way that Columbia runs their offense, they're not attacking at the rim a lot. And Kentucky's not going to lunge and reach as far away from the basket as Columbia's working their offense.
Cohen tried to force it, a Kentucky takeaway. And the other half of that on this end of the floor, Columbia has just tried to hog-tie Kentucky's bigs the entire game. It's been successful at times, but a lot of whistles coming in the paint against the Lions.
Well, we've seen this script before. Kentucky in the second half. The numbers, that's where it shows up. They wear you down when you get into the second half. Because as they continue to send guys in, they're sending in that same size, that same athleticism. There is no drop-off.
That was the third on Kyle Castleman. It puts Trey Lyles on the free throw line. Sean, Kentucky may pull away here with 5:13 to go. But it's got to make you wonder a little bit if Kentucky and Duke were the elite teams in college basketball, and a big part of that was the balance in the minutes, then does your opinion change of Kentucky after tonight's performance, especially the first half?
Well, the concerning part was the lack of energy and the lack of attention to the details at the defensive end of the floor. You've got to create opportunities to get runouts. I think if I was concerned about anything, it would be the same thing I was concerned about this Kentucky team before I showed up to Lexington. The perimeter shooting has not been there consistently as of yet. Obviously, Devin Booker's a big part of that. You know, he's been a little bit of a funk for the last 3 games, but prior to that, he had a 3-game stretch where he shot 70% from beyond the 3-point arc.
Well, as a team, nice back cut. Kentucky is just 7 of 45 from deep over the last 4 games.
You look at the college basketball and the landscape we see right now, the teams that have separated themselves. Duke and Kentucky are the 2 teams that you put on tier 1. And I don't think this performance changes that.
What is a Wisconsin performance at home and a loss to Duke change the way you thought about Wisconsin and drop them to tier 2?
Yeah, you move them down a little bit. I mean, still very experienced, still very dangerous, very capable of beating. I think either one of those 2 teams at the top. With Frank Kaminsky and Sam Decker and Nigel Hayes, the steady guard play and Bo Ryan's system and how he slows things down, and they're very deliberate in their offensive sets as well. The ability to shoot from the outside. But I think that was the most shocking thing for me, and that's why Duke separates itself a little bit and moves up into that tier with Kentucky because of that.
Well, Bo Ryan's Wisconsin team will be on the floor next as they travel into Milwaukee. Kaminsky preseason All-American. Wisconsin puts its 8-1 record on the line. I love the fact that Bo Ryan, it goes back to the Dick Bennett days, will go and play everybody in the state, all the Division I teams in the state of Wisconsin. Derek Willis for 3.
That's how practice started yesterday. Exactly what they worked on. Spot up, space out, have your feet ready to knock down the shot.
Well, there weren't 22,000 people watching practice yesterday, although that was only because they weren't invited. So is Kentucky, after this stretch, when they get a week to practice before UCLA, and then they get into conference play, are they going to turn into an up and down 3-point shooting team? Or
no, they'll still play through the post, but you've got to be able to be confident that your feet are set and you're ready to fire away if you have the opportunity, because one of the other things that Kentucky does better than anybody in the country, offensive rebounds. The offensive rebounding percentage, the ability to get the second chance looks. So sometimes a missed shot from the outside ends up being a positive for the team.
Willis again. And Lee is on the glass, just as you said. John Calipari says, hold it. Harrison says, I got a good look. John Calipari was trying to get Andrew Harrison to pull it out and set something up. And Andrew said, I got to go to the rim if I'm going to get my shots, coach. 3:07 to go, and the lead is 13.
Shot, back to you guys.
Coach, true road game. They're in their own state. I mean, I know they're on a different floor, but Sean, true road game. John Calipari wins at home. He's only lost 4 times at Rupp Arena. And going into that break, he was wondering exactly what Andrew Harrison was thinking and trying to do the last possession. Here's how his career as a Kentucky head coach breaks down. National runner-up last year. They were preseason #1. This season, preseason #1 again. They're going to go to 28 wins in their last 30 games as a #1 team with a victory here tonight.
And such turnover on the roster that almost every season you're kind of reinventing who you are. He described it to us as being a teacher, not having the same lesson plan for 30 years. You can't just mail it in. You've got to come back and you've got to find innovative ways to get guys involved and engaged.
Aaron Harrison leaves the 3 short. And I think what's missing in that is you can look at Kentucky's development last season as a team. I mean, they really struggled. They struggled late in the year, especially with a loss at South Carolina. When other teams are building their identity in the summer and then October and November, as we've said, this is going to look like a totally different Kentucky team once they get into conference play, because they're going to change their identity. He has to learn and teach on the fly.
Well, and I think the first month of the season for every team in college basketball is, okay, trying to identify who are we as of today. And then once you get to the winter break and you can go with the double-day practices, you start working on who you want to become, and you try to get there in a very short period of time to peak in January and February so that when you get to March, you're playing your best basketball.
That's what Kentucky was able to accomplish last year. It's almost like with their size, that Kentucky could pick about 3 different styles of play and be successful at all of them. And maybe he tries up-tempo and full-court pressure, and that doesn't work. And he changes again. You never know.
It's an evolution process with this group.
We're talking about roster makeup. He said, a lot of teams know exactly who's coming back next year. He said, I know 3 guys that are going to be here, and those are the 3 recruits that they have signed for next year.
Well, thankful that Willie Cauley-Stein is here this season. A double-double with that basket. And how aggressive was he when he got his hands on it to turn around and work his way through the paint?
15-point Kentucky lead. Maldo Low had a fantastic first half for Columbia. 1:10 to go here. For fans of new sensations and timeless classics, this is your game. Young stars throw down before timeless masters Tony Parker and Kobe Bryant square off. Blazers Bulls at 7, Lakers Spurs at 9:30 Friday on ESPN.
Of course, John Wall, an emotional night for him on Monday. Reminds me of just these players that have left this program. And there's other programs that have kids that go on and do good things, but John Wall had a special bond with that young 6-year-old who passed away on Monday. Nerlens Noel has done a lot of stuff in this community as well. These players understand the mantle they're on, and when you have a performance like this too, sometimes the pressure starts building up a little bit as far as who you want to become. You got to be able to handle that pressure and come out and understand what you represent each and every game. The proud tradition of Kentucky basketball.
Now, Kentucky was held to 58 points in their win against Providence on November 30th. This would be a new season low if the Cats don't get another bucket. Like Calipari has said, we're about 50 to 60% away offensively. So in that regard, if nothing else, it's going to be a much different looking team. Connor Voss checks into the game for Columbia.
Yeah, Kyle Smith, I like what he just did right there. You come on the road, you're playing the #1 team in the country, and you make sure that everybody that was suited up tonight got out onto the floor.
Kendall Jackson also into the game, as is Nate Hickman. The newcomers for Columbia. And Patty Quinn. Kendall Jackson, fine vintage as he nails the 3.
I knew somehow, some way you'd be able to work that in.
This is second 3 of the season.
As it stands right now, by the way, this would be the slimmest margin of victory all season long for the Kentucky Wildcats.
They've got North Carolina coming in here Saturday for a day game against Roy Williams Tar Heels. But for now, John Calipari is happy to survive Columbia. It was a 2-point lead at the half for Columbia. Kentucky didn't have a lead until 13-18 remained in the game. The Lions scored the first 11 of this